The Young and the Restless Spoilers Whispers of Blood. The enigma of Victor and Aristotle. Victor had always been a figure of both power and mystery in Genoa City, a man whose reputation for ruthlessness was rivaled only by the secrets buried deep within his past. For decades, he had built an empire on an unyielding resolve, a strategic mind that left no room for weakness. Yet, amid the endless maneuvers of corporate conquests and personal vendettas, one name echoed through every whispered conversation: Aristotle. It wasn't unusual for Victor to mention Aristotle in passing, a name that sent shivers down the spines of those who truly knew the story. The rumors that swirled around the corridors of power were as persistent as they were disturbing. Some said that Aristotle was more than just an enigmatic presence. He was, in fact, Victor's long-lost twin, a mirror image of the man Victor had become. Even more shocking, whispers hinted that years ago, in a moment of unspeakable cruelty, Victor had taken the life of his own twin and then sealed the truth away behind layers of deception and silence. Nikki, ever perceptive and intimately acquainted with the dark corners of Victor's past, was the only one who seemed to know the whole tale. Late at night, when the voices in the mansion faded into a heavy silence, Nikki would catch a glimpse of something in Victor's eyes, a flash of regret, or perhaps a flicker of fear, whenever the name Aristotle was uttered. Despite the outward persona of an unbreakable titan, Victor bore the weight of that terrible secret as if it were a scar etched upon his soul. The legend of Aristotle grew with each retelling, evolving into an ominous myth. Fan forums buzzed with theories, some suggesting that Aristotle had not only survived Victor's murderous act but had been biding his time, waiting for the perfect moment to reappear and claim revenge. In these narratives, Aristotle was painted as a vengeful spirit, a restless force determined to upend Victor's world, to expose the truth and dismantle the empire built on blood and betrayal. The very thought of his return instilled a mix of fear and awe in those who followed Victor's tumultuous career. Yet, there was another layer to this dramatic tale. Within the complex web of alliances and enmities, a question loomed: was Victor's incessant mention of Aristotle merely a reflection of guilt and paranoia, or did it hint at a deeper, almost familial bond, a connection that transcended mere rivalry? Rumors grew louder with every passing day, suggesting that the two were once inseparable, bound by blood and shared dreams. But fate had twisted their destiny into a bitter confrontation, leaving Victor to shoulder the consequences of a heinous act he had committed in a moment of cold calculation. In the corridors of power, where secrets were the currency and loyalty was a scarce commodity, protecting oneself meant more than wielding influence, it meant guarding against the ghosts of the past. For Victor, the specter of Aristotle was not just a rumor, it was a ticking time bomb. Every time he mentioned Aristotle, it served as a grim reminder of the irreversible choices he had made and the price he might one day pay. His ruthless ambition had earned him many enemies, but none were as potentially dangerous as a vengeful twin, whose very existence challenged the foundation of everything Victor had built. So what could be done to protect Victor from the impending storm? His closest confidants, those who had witnessed the intricate dance of loyalty and betrayal, knew that simply burying the secret was not enough. A plan had to be set in motion, one that would neutralize any threat Aristotle might pose without drawing undue attention to the dark past. Lily, Devon, and even Nate, each scarred by their own encounters with deception, conspired in secret. They deliberated late into the night in dimly lit rooms, poring over every scrap of evidence and every whispered rumor. Their goal was not to expose Victor, but to shield him from a fate that might see him overthrown by the very force he had long feared. The plan was multi-pronged. First, they needed to ensure that any appearance or hint of Aristotle's involvement in current affairs would be discredited before it could spark a larger scandal. This involved discreetly gathering intelligence on any possible movements or connections that could link someone to the mythic twin. Should any suspicious activity arise, they were ready to launch a counter-operation, a blend of strategic media releases and legal maneuvers, to quash the rumor mill and reinforce Victor's image as an untouchable magnate. But even as they plotted behind closed doors, the emotional toll on Victor was evident. His public persona was that of a hardened, ruthless leader, Yet in the solitude of his private quarters, he wrestled with the internal torment of his past transgressions. Every reference to Aristotle was a spark that threatened to ignite an inferno of guilt and retribution. In a rare moment of vulnerability, Victor confided in Nikki, admitting that the mere thought of Aristotle's return haunted his every waking moment. "I fear the day he comes back," he whispered, his voice heavy with despair. "Not just for the destruction he might bring, but for the man I once was, and the monster I've become." This raw confession only deepened Nikki's resolve to protect him, even as she grappled with her own conflicted feelings about the long-hidden truth. Nikki knew that while Victor's actions were monstrous, the secret of Aristotle was a festering wound that could tear apart not only his world but the lives of everyone connected to him. She believed that if the truth were ever to come to light, it would not only destroy Victor's legacy but also unleash a chain of events that could destabilize the entire power structure they had all relied on. For the fans and observers, Aristotle had become a symbol of the ultimate retribution, a dark mirror reflecting the hidden sins of power. The more the writer nurtured Aristotle's character, the more palpable the fear became among those who followed Victor's saga. In hushed discussions and fervent online debates, the theory persisted: Aristotle was not merely a figment of twisted imagination, but a living embodiment of revenge, destined to rise and claim what was once his. As the plot thickened, questions remained at the forefront of every whispered conversation. Could Victor's allies effectively contain the threat posed by Aristotle? Would Aristotle eventually step out of the shadows to challenge Victor, or was he doomed to remain a lurking specter, a constant reminder of a dark, unchangeable past? And most crucially, what would it take to truly protect Victor, a man who, despite his ruthless exterior, was haunted by the consequences of his own brutality? The answer, as it seemed, lay in the delicate balance of power, secrets, and redemption. For now, Victor was ensnared in a web of his own making, where every calculated decision risked awakening the ghost of his past. His allies had to walk a razor's edge, protecting him from the relentless pursuit of vengeance while also keeping the truth buried deep enough to never see the light of day. Yet, even in their most meticulous plans, the specter of Aristotle loomed large, a reminder that in the world of power and betrayal, the sins of the past never truly die. In this charged atmosphere, one truth became clear: Aristotle's potential return was not just a threat to Victor's empire, it was a catalyst that could force a reckoning with a past long suppressed. The battle between these two dark forces, the avenger and the aggressor, promised to be as inevitable as it was explosive. And as fans held their breath, wondering if Aristotle would one day replace Victor or if Victor's dark legacy would endure, the stage was set for a confrontation that would redefine loyalty, power, and the price of betrayal. In the end, the story of Victor and Aristotle was more than just a tale of familial strife and ruthless ambition. It was a haunting exploration of the scars left by betrayal, the hidden costs of power, and the eternal question of whether one can ever truly escape the shadows of the past. And for those who dared to follow this saga, every whispered mention of Aristotle was a reminder that even the mightiest among us are never free from the ghosts that haunt our souls. Victor Newman's empire had long been defined by unyielding ambition and ruthless precision. In the boardrooms of power and in the hushed corridors of private mansions, his name was synonymous with both brilliance and cruelty. Yet, behind the steely facade and the calculated demeanor, a secret haunted him, a secret that even his formidable presence could not fully conceal. The name Aristotle, whispered in fear and disbelief, was inextricably linked to the ghost of his past, his twin brother, whose very existence threatened to shatter everything Victor had so meticulously built. For Victor, the specter of Aristotle was more than a rumor or a faded memory. It was a constant, seething reminder of a part of his life he desperately wished to forget. Aristotle, once his only other half, had grown into a creature as ruthless as he was unpredictable, a being whose dark ambitions led him to embrace the shadows. Unlike Victor, who thrived in the spotlight of high-stakes corporate warfare and public acclaim, Aristotle preferred the cover of darkness. His actions, always hidden from prying eyes, were marked by abductions and calculated acts of terror. He targeted anyone connected to Victor's inner circle, striking without warning and leaving devastation in his wake. In recent weeks, Victor had grown increasingly paranoid. He had seen the signs, a series of cryptic messages, unexplained absences, and a lingering sense of dread among those closest to him. The warnings were clear: Aristotle was back, and he was on the hunt. With his signature steely gaze and an unmistakable air of authority, Victor summoned his trusted aides for an emergency meeting. His voice, usually measured and composed, was edged with an emotion that he rarely allowed to show. "Listen closely," he began, his tone somber and foreboding. "I know the darkness is closing in. We are no longer safe. Aristotle is out there, and he isn't just targeting our business rivals, he's targeting my family. Nikki, Victoria, Summer, Claire, every single member of the Newman family, none are exempt. If you're careless, if you act foolishly, you might not see tomorrow." The gravity of his words sent ripples of anxiety through everyone present. Even those who had always been loyal to Victor's cause could not help but feel a chill. His warning was not just a caution, it was a declaration of impending chaos. Aristotle's reign of terror, hidden in the shadows, was about to intersect with the lives of the ones Victor held most dear. The idea that his own twin, once thought to be lost or silenced, would now use his dark talents to abduct and potentially kill those he considered family was enough to unsettle even the most hardened members of his inner circle. Nikki, ever perceptive and intimately familiar with the labyrinth of Victor's secrets, listened with a mix of dread and resolve. Though she had long suspected that something was amiss in the Newman dynasty, she had never imagined that the past would come back to haunt them with such lethal intent. The image of Aristotle, stealthy, calculating, and devoid of any remorse, was seared into her mind. She recalled the whispered rumors of his return, stories passed down like curses among those who knew too much about the dark underbelly of the Newman Empire. Now, those rumors were transforming into a terrifying reality. Victoria and Summer, too, felt the weight of Victor's dire warning. They had grown up amidst the turbulence of family feuds and corporate battles, but the prospect of facing a ghost from Victor's past, a twisted reflection of his own cruelty, was almost too much to bear. Their thoughts were punctuated by questions that refused to be silenced. What did Aristotle want? Was his vendetta personal, or was it a calculated move to dismantle the Newman legacy? And if Aristotle was as vicious as the legends suggested, could anyone truly stand in his way? Amid these swirling uncertainties, a murmur began to circulate among the inner circle. Many believed that Aristotle was more than just a dark mirror of Victor's past, he was his equal in malevolence, if not his superior. According to the most persistent rumors, Aristotle had once been a twin born into a world of privilege and power, but fate had twisted his destiny. It was said that during a fateful confrontation, driven by jealousy or perhaps a desperate desire for control, Victor had taken the drastic step of eliminating his own twin. The deed had been buried deep under layers of secrecy, a crime that was never publicly acknowledged but was known to a select few. Now, with Aristotle's ominous presence re-emerging from the shadows, it seemed that the past was clawing its way back into the present. In hushed conversations and covert meetings, the theory gained momentum: Aristotle, the long-lost twin, was returning not just to claim revenge, but to seize control. His dark heart was said to be as cold and calculating as Victor's, only far more unrestrained in its cruelty. If the rumors were true, Aristotle would stop at nothing to dismantle the Newman Empire, targeting every person who dared to stand in his path. The chilling thought that he might even kidnap or kill the very members of Victor's family sent shivers down the spines of all who heard it. For those who had once admired Victor's strength, the revelation was a stark reminder of how quickly power could be corrupted and how thin the veneer of civilization truly was. In response to the growing threat, Victor did not choose to retreat. Instead, he doubled down on his measures to protect his legacy and the lives of his family. He directed his most trusted security advisors to tighten protocols and leave no stone unturned in tracking any sign of Aristotle's movements. Secret operations were set into motion, aimed at intercepting any communications or suspicious activities that might hint at the twins' next move. Yet, the more he fought, the more it became apparent that Aristotle's methods were unlike anything the Newman family had ever encountered. Unlike conventional foes, Aristotle was a master of operating from the shadows, an assassin whose very presence was a harbinger of unpredictable chaos. In a twist of bitter irony, the very same qualities that had made Victor an indomitable force in business and personal vendettas now seemed to haunt him. His reputation as a ruthless tycoon was not enough to safeguard him from the horrors of his past. His secret, his unspoken guilt over what had transpired with his twin, was now weaponized by Aristotle, a dark reflection of his own soul. Every step Victor took was now burdened with the possibility that Aristotle might be lurking just beyond the light, waiting to strike at the heart of the Newman dynasty. The stakes had never been higher. As Aristotle's potential threat loomed like a dark cloud over the Newman family, a sense of impending doom settled over every conversation. Victor's instructions were clear and unyielding. Be vigilant. Be cautious. If you act without thinking, you could pay the ultimate price. These words, heavy with the promise of retribution, were not just warnings, they were a manifesto of survival in a world where every moment was fraught with danger. The terror of Aristotle was not simply a matter of personal vendetta, it was an existential threat to everything the Newmans had built over generations. Amid the chaos, questions emerged that even the most cynical observers found hard to ignore. Was there truly a special, inescapable connection between Victor and Aristotle, one that bound them together by blood and by a shared propensity for cruelty? And if so, what did that mean for the future of the Newman family? Would Aristotle ultimately replace Victor, not merely as a rival, but as the true power behind the empire? Or could Victor, with all his cunning and ruthless determination, continue to shield his family from the dark legacy of his past? For the moment, as the night grew darker and the threats more palpable, the only certainty was that the Newman family, and everyone connected to it, had to brace themselves for what could be the most terrifying chapter yet. The shadow of Aristotle was not only a reminder of Victor's past sins, but also a warning of the dark future that might befall them all if caution was thrown to the wind. Is it truly possible that this intricate, blood-soaked connection between Victor and Aristotle exists? For many, the notion is as horrifying as it is fascinating, a chilling blend of family drama, revenge, and the raw power of the human soul. The mystery remains unsolved, locked in the depths of whispered conversations and clandestine files. But one thing is clear, as long as the specter of Aristotle lingers in the darkness, the Newman family will never truly be at peace. In the end, the question that haunts every heart and mind in Genoa City is this: can the dark legacy of the past ever be fully eradicated, or will it continue to cast its long, deadly shadow over the lives of those caught in its path? For now, Victor's words echo as both a caution and a curse, a desperate plea for survival in a world where betrayal and blood are inextricably intertwined. And as the night deepens, the terror of Aristotle's potential return remains an ever-present specter, reminding everyone that sometimes, the most dangerous enemies are those who share your very blood. This narrative captures the chilling dynamics between Victor and Aristotle, exploring the possibility of a deep, tragic connection, a relationship rooted in betrayal, vengeance, and the unyielding nature of power. Do you believe in the existence of such a special, ominous bond? The rumors may be terrifying, but in the intricate world of the Newmans, nothing is ever as it seems.